In the previous lectures, we understood how do we read from CSV file and JSON files, and how do we write into CSV file and JSON files. As a part of this lecture, we will try to understand how do we read from a Parquet file, and we will try to learn more about the Parquet file. Any idea what is the Parquet file? Parquet file is one of the important file format in the whole of Hadoop ecosystem or in whole of big data ecosystem. Why do you think the Parquet format is used most? Because Parquet format is an open source column oriented data store. It provides variety of storage optimizations. Because it provides variety of storage optimizations, it is very much used as a part of the any big data analytics workloads. Parquet format provides a columnar compression. Because it provides a columnar compression, there is a lot of saving of the space when you are trying to store the data. And also one more very important aspect is, as a part of the file, it will allow you to read only the individual columns instead of the entire files, assuming that you have multiple columns. This is the column, this is one more column, this is one more column. You have so many columns as a part of your file. If you want to retrieve only one column, then isn't it wonderful to only get this particular column from a file itself? That saves a lot of time and energy and resources. That's the reason Parquet format is a wonderful format which is extensively used as a part of the big data ecosystem. One very important aspect, Parquet file format works exceptionally well with the Apache Spark. Any idea why is that? Because Parquet format is the default file format of the Apache Spark. Whenever you are trying to store the data for a long-term storage, then it is always better to write that as a part of the Parquet file format. Because when you want to read the data from any other format like a CSV or JSON, it is bit cumbersome as compared to the Parquet format. Remember, when you want to store the data for a long-term storage, better use the Parquet file format. One more advantage of Parquet format is it supports the complex types as well. When you say complex types, it may be an array, it may be a map, it may be struct. If you look at the example of CSV, when you have a multiple values as a part of the same column in a CSV, you are going to face a lot of issues. But that is not going to happen as a part of the Parquet format. It is easy to read complex types from Parquet format. Parquet format has very few options. Why is that? Because it has its own inbuilt schema, it enforces its own schema when you are storing the data. Since it has its own schema while storing the data, it is easy for a Spark to read the data from Parquet format. That is the reason it has few options. If you want to read the data from Parquet format, all you have to do is set the file format. Then you are good to go. You will be able to read the data from a Parquet file. Sometimes it so happens that you want to enforce the schema as per your needs. Even though Parquet format enforces its own schema, still you will be able to provide your own schema and ensure that you are reading the data from a Parquet format. But what works better while reading a Parquet format is reading a file without the options. That works better. Why is that? Because schema itself is inbuilt. That is the reason there is no need to infer any schema from a file. it works very well without any options. How do we read a file from a Parquet format? Simple. We have already read a file in a CSV format. We can read the data from a Parquet format in a similar way. Instead of providing some other format here, go ahead and specify a Parquet format here and provide all other things. As you know, options in Parquet format are less. All you have to do is Spark, that is Spark session, read attribute and provide the format as Parquet and provide the path where the Parquet format file is there. One more way of reading the Parquet format that is only specific to the Parquet format is you can go ahead and say Parquet instead of providing the format. If you look at this example, we are providing the format, then within that we are providing a Parquet. But we can directly go ahead and provide the Parquet after the read attribute, then provide the path of the file. You can read the Parquet format in this way as well. Wonderful! Isn't it good to know about the Parquet format? Thank you. Let us see how to work with Parquet format with couple of examples. First and foremost thing is, let's go ahead and check how does the Parquet file look like. So I am already in a folder where I have stored one Parquet file format. We have a extension as a Parquet. The name of the file is 2010 summary. Let us get into this folder. Look at this. This is the Parquet file. Are we able to make any sense of it? Not really. We will not be able to make sense of the Parquet file as we can do with the CSV file. So to some extent, JSON file also will be able to make sense. But in case of Parquet, we will not be able to read without understanding the internal format of the Parquet. This is the Parquet file. What we will do is we'll create a data frame by reading the Parquet format. I'll say df flight and say Parquet. Everything is same. We have already read a JSON format and created the data frame. I'm going to use the same code here as well, just with a bit modification. As we already understand, the number of options in Parquet format are very less. Let me go ahead and take up these options and keep only the load. Okay, then I'm going to change the path. I think we are all set. Let's go ahead and execute this. Just executed this. Let us go ahead and see the data frame. What are the contents of the data frame? You can see all the 3 columns are there. Even though we have not specified the infer schema or applied any schema, the schema is read properly. As Parquet format enforces its own schema, the Spark has gone ahead and read the schema from the Parquet format and created the data frame with 3 columns: destination country name, origin country name, and count. As Parquet file format is the default file format of Spark. We'll see one more way of reading the data from a Parquet. Specify this. Instead of saying format, go ahead and specify Parquet. Load is not required. All I have to do is have to go and specify this. We're all set. Let's go ahead and execute this as well. This is one more way of creating the data frame by reading the data from a Parquet file format. Instead of specifying a format, directly go ahead and give the Parquet. Let us go ahead and check. It has read the file with the schema, and we do have 3 columns. And let us check how many rows are there. We have 255 in this case. Wonderful then. We read a Parquet file by using 2 ways. As we have already read the data from other file formats like CSV, JSON, in the similar way, just specify the Parquet format here. And we don't have many options in the Parquet format. Another way is directly give the Parquet instead of format and provide the path of the file. By these two ways, we can create the data frame by reading the Parquet file. How about writing it to a Parquet file? What we will do is we'll create the data frame called dflight by using a JSON file format, and by using that we'll write this data frame into a Parquet format. We do that very simple. Let us take this. What I'm doing now is I created a dflight data frame by reading the JSON file. I am taking this data frame and writing that into a Parquet format. To do that, I'm using a dflight write. I'm specifying a format and the path where I want to go ahead and write this particular data frame into Parquet format. Let's go ahead and execute this. Done. Let's go ahead and check if the file is there here or not. It does. This is how you write any data frame into Parquet format. Excellent. Do practice reading and writing a Parquet format, because this is one of the important file format in the whole of big data ecosystem. Thank you.